Dating after 50, it looks completely different today. What used to be a pretty niche thing is now one of the main ways people find a connection. Today, we're going to dive into the world of online dating for the generation that's really rewriting the rules of romance.
So, are you looking for a new connection? Maybe you're recently divorced, or maybe your social circle is just kind of shifted over the years. Well, if you're thinking about looking online, you are definitely not alone. More and more people are turning to the digital world for a fresh start.
And this isn't some brand new trend. Nope, the groundwork for this was laid quite a while ago. Think about it. As far back as 2013, literally half, of adults between 50 and 64 were already active on social media. That comfort level with being online, it just paved the way for dating apps to become a go-to tool for connection.
It's a really common path, it seems, particularly for older adults who are divorced. But the big question is it actually worth it? Before you even think about creating a profile, let's break down what the research really says about the pros and the cons. All right, first up, let's talk about the good stuff. What are the real, tangible benefits that people actually get when they jump into online dating after 50? Okay, so the number one advantage, by far, is simple. It's access. As we get older, our social networks can, naturally get a bit smaller. People retire, move away. It just happens. Online dating basically smashes through those walls. It opens up a whole new pool of potential partners, especially when the old ways, like meeting through friends, just aren't cutting it anymore. And this quote, wow, it really nails it. The desire for connection is so strong that for many people, even if they're not having a ton of success, online dating feels like the only option they have left. It represents pure possibility when other doors seem to have closed.
Now, it's not just about meeting new people. There's another huge theme here, and that's empowerment. The research shows that a lot of users, women especially, feel this amazing sense of control over their dating lives that just wasn't there before.
Just think about how things used to be. In traditional dating, men were almost always expected to make the first move. But online, that whole dynamic gets flipped on its head. Women are initiating contact more than 20% of the time, and that anonymity, it gives you a bit of a shield. You can look around without feeling so exposed. And here's the best part. There's absolutely zero pressure to reply if you're not feeling it. You are in total control.
And building on that sense of control is safety. The whole online setup has these built-in buffers. You can check out someone's profile, maybe do a quick Google search on them, and you get to decide exactly how much personal info you share. A lot of women also say it just feels less risky to end a conversation online, which cuts down on the fear of some awkward or negative in-person confrontation. And here's one of the most overlooked benefits, and it has nothing to do with romance. Even if you don't find the one, these sites can lead to some incredible friendships, connecting you with people who share your interests, sometimes in different cities or even different states.
Okay, so we've seen the promise of connection and control. It all sounds pretty good, right? But to get the full picture, we have to get real about the challenges. So now, let's dig into the inevitable downsides.
The first big con is just the sheer amount of work involved. This is not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's a really competitive space, which means you're constantly updating your profile, sifting through matches, trying to write clever messages. It takes a real investment of time and energy. And frankly, for a lot of people, it starts to feel more like a part-time job than a fun experience.
And here's a big one, the gap between the profile and the actual person. Let's be honest, people don't always tell the whole truth, and there's a pretty clear reason why.
Yeah, the research on this is pretty clear. Men tend to zero in on physical appearance and youthfulness. Women, on the other hand, often prioritize things like socioeconomic status and success. And what does that do? Well, it creates this huge incentive for people to, let's say, bend the truth. Using a photo from 10 years ago, tweaking your age, maybe exaggerating your health or your finances. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? This guy wasn't just looking for someone young, he was actively rejecting anything that sounded old because he wanted a youthful identity. That kind of pressure to seem vibrant and young, well, it just fuels this whole cycle of misrepresentation from everyone. But fibbing about your hobbies is one thing. We also have to talk about something more serious, the potential for really unwelcome messages and sometimes straight-up harassment. And unfortunately, this is a major concern backed up by data. 42%. Just let that sink in. According to a major study, that's how many women on dating sites report being contacted in a way that made them feel harassed or just plain uncomfortable. That is a sobering statistic you just can't ignore. And finally, we get to the hard truth. After all that effort, all the emotional energy, For many, online dating simply doesn't lead to a long-term romantic relationship. While some people absolutely find their person, the research shows that a lack of success is a very, very common outcome.
So, we've laid out the promise and we've looked at the pitfalls, which brings us to the only question that really matters here. Is this whole thing actually worth it for you?
At the end of the day, it all boils down to this trade-off, right? On one hand, you have the promise, the hope of finding someone new, of feeling in control, of maybe even just making a new friend. But on the other side of the scale, you have the reality of the effort, the risk of deception, the negative interactions, and yeah, the real chance it might not work out.
Ultimately, there's no single right or wrong answer here. Deciding to dive into online dating is a deeply personal choice. It's about looking at both sides, knowing the risks, understanding the rewards, and deciding if that journey is worth it for you at this point in your life.
So, what's it going to be? A new profile, or maybe focusing your energy somewhere else? It's your call. Because really the question isn't about which app to download. It's about what you want your next chapter to look like.